Now, it is time to get into my official NBA playoff predictions. Quickly, I'll go over the play-in tournament games. So I have Charlotte as the 9 seed defeating Miami. I think Heat culture came dead after that Bam Adebayo 83-point game, which it was good for the history books, but it won't mean anything long term. I have them taking on Philadelphia in the 9-8 play-in games. I think Orlando beats them on their home court. I think we'll get a rematch from a year ago between Orlando and Boston. I think that we will have Charlotte actually going into Philly. They've been playing really odd basketball right now. Joel Embiid is obviously out for the Sixers. I think it's possible, especially with Charlotte shooting. Philadelphia is the 8th seed. They lose two straight playing games. They are out of the tournament. And so in round one, I have Detroit taking on Charlotte, who Kate Cunningham is back. The Hornets are a nice story. Con Knipple's going to be runner up to Cooper Flag in Rookie of the Year. LaMelo Ball is playing really good. Brandon Miller is playing really solid basketball. But this is a nice story in the playoffs about big boy basketball. And JB Bickerstaff is into our physical, tough unit. Obviously, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren out there. I don't even think Kate Cunningham will need to do much in this series, but I think he matches up well with LaMelo Ball. I think Charlotte could win a game at home if they shoot well from behind the arc, but I think Detroit will ultimately win this thing in five. And I feel the same way with Boston, Orlando, who was it? Boston may sweep Orlando. I mean, they beat Orlando Sunday night in Boston without their starters. I think there could be one night, especially in Orlando, like a game three, or maybe Boston doesn't shoot that well from behind the arc. Pablo Banchero has a really good game because he is a budding superstar on a Magic team that seemingly just cannot get out of the first round. They matched up really with terrible matchups the last couple of years in Cleveland, and now what I think will be Boston twice. So I have, Boston dispatching of Orlando in five games. What I think will be the best series out of the East in the first round will be the Knicks against Atlanta. Atlanta, led by Jalen Johnson, slowly becoming one of the, rising stars of the NBA, along with Dyson Daniels, one of the best defenders, at least at the guard position in the NBA. Atlanta is obviously a streaky team. Once they moved off Trae Young, they acquired CJ McCollum. It's really settled their offense down. They've been one of the oddest teams in the NBA over the past month. Though what Cleveland did to them Wednesday night in Cleveland gave me a little bit of pushback. I still think the Knicks are better, though for some reason the Knicks like to play with their food. Again, I think Atlanta's shooting can get them here to six games. And I think that the Knicks, though, will prevail. Then between four and five, give me the Cavs over Toronto, who with Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes, yes, it's a nice story. I think they would have actually matched up better with the Knicks than they will with the Cavs. These two teams have not played since November. Very different Cavs team, obviously, who is not playing well at the start of the season. Very different Toronto team, who's just coming of age. So you just can't take anything in the regular season between these two teams. The Cavs are one of the hottest teams in the NBA post trade deadline, acquiring James Harden. Toronto, outside of Scotty Barnes, really doesn't have a lot of size. This will be a battle of the 2021 draft picks between Evan Mobley and the Rookie of the Year from that class, Scotty Barnes. Evan Mobley, defending Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion, has to really show up in these playoffs. I'll give Toronto a game because it's hard to win games back to back like that in the former known as the Air Canada Center, I think now known as the Scotiabank Arena. But give me the Cavs in five. We move on to round two, where this is the matchup that, as a Cavs fan, I have been hoping for and I've been looking forward to. I have the Cavs taking on the one-seeded Pistons. The Cavs' former head coach JB Bickerstaff now leading that Detroit Piston team. And I think it's going to be very similar to what Indiana did to Cleveland a year ago. Give me the Cavs in five. They shocked Detroit. I think it's very possible that this could even be a sweep. I'll be honest with you. I don't think the Pistons match up well with the Cavs at all. I think a lot of those Cavs players, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, one of these guys were on that team with JB Bickerstaff, and I know he's going to know their tendencies, but I think the team is going to look for more revenge. I think if you get physical with this Detroit team and rattle them, the pressure's going to catch up to them. I think the more the Cavs play in the postseason, they're going to want to prove that physicality. And again, I think Detroit is just going to be shell shocked, and I think Cunningham may not be able to hold up with that injury, especially if they rush him back. And I think it's going to be disappointing again for the Pistons to their season. Then, just like a year ago, I have the Knicks topping out Boston in 6 games. Listen, I know everybody loves the Celtics and nobody's a big fan of the Knicks right now. This is what the Knicks do. And I've said it, all regular season. I think Mike Brown and the Knicks are building a postseason team. I don't think they're building a regular season team. I think they were fine being the 3 seed and matching up with whoever they play. I don't think they mind facing Boston. I think there will be a confidence factor because they faced Boston a year ago. And, again, I think that this team with Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby and Josh Hart and the guys that they can throw at Boston, Boston's a 3-point shooting team. They're a jumping team. Nikola Vucevic, is going to be back, they hope, by the time the postseason um, comes around. But he's not a physical guy. He's more of a jump shooting guy. You know, I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to have to carry a lot of the load, and I'm worried about how Tatum will hold up. I don't think they have an answer for Jalen Brunson, who I think is one of those underrated players in the NBA. Last year, they at least had Drew Holiday at the guard spot. They don't really have that. It's more Derek White now. And I think this matchup for the Knicks is very good for them. I'll take the Knicks, even though they are the road team in the series. I think that they could even split in Boston the first 2 games and win this thing in 6. And so for the conference finals, I have the Knicks hosting the Cavs. And like that 2023 NBA playoff series, I think the number 3 seed Knicks take down the number 4 seed Cavs in 5 games. Again, I think that the Knicks' physicality is just going to be too much for Cleveland. James Harden will find a way to choke at some spots, especially at MSG. And the Knicks are just going to bully the Cavs. And Mike Brown, the former Cavs coach, is going to look to prove and show the Cavs they shouldn't have fired him way back when. And I think the New York Knicks, as the number 3 seed, are going to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. And in the East, I have no series going 7 games. I only have 2 series going 6 games. That's Knicks Hawks and Knicks Celtics. I do think the top 4 seeds in the East should all advance. Let's move on to the West. Quickly in the play-in tournament games, I think Phoenix will beat the Blazers in that 7-8 matchup. And I think the Clippers will beat the Warriors in that 9-10 matchup. And then I do think the Clippers, led by Kawhi Leonard and Darius Garland, they will defeat the Blazers in that second matchup. So they'll take on OKC. Obviously, a lot of us wanted to see Kawhi Leonard go back to San Antonio. But that's the last win the Clippers will get this season. I know Kawhi Leonard could be a problem, but you don't trust Darius Garland in the postseason. The Clippers are not a very good defensive team. The Thunder are just so deep. The Clippers don't have enough offensive firepower. I didn't have any sweeps in the East because I think there's going to be 2 sweeps in the West. I think OKC dispatches the Clippers, and Devin Booker's been a nice story for a Suns team that's overachieved this year. They have nobody to guard San Antonio, especially Wemby. Spurs will sweep Phoenix. That leads us to Nuggets, Minnesota, who we all remember that classic second round series 2 years ago. Denver was down 2-0. Lost both games in Denver. They came back. They took a 3-2 lead. They were up 20 going into the second half of game 7. And then Naz Reid just went crazy for Minnesota to overtake Denver. Denver struggled against Minnesota a year ago, but this year they're 3-1 against them. And I think the Anthony Edwards injury is what really hampers the T-Wolves here. I think Denver's going to look for revenge on their mind. Chris Finch and Rick Adelman, these are 2 very good coaches. Even though Malone was the coach for Denver a couple years ago, Adelman was on that staff. So these guys know each other very well. I think Denver's the hottest team in the NBA. Obviously, they are, but they're playing like it as well going into the playoffs. Again, I think Minnesota could have pushed this to 6 or 7 if Ant was fully healthy, but I'll take Denver in 5 here. And then I thought, if Luke and Austin Reeves are healthy, I thought that the Lakers would just dispatch of Houston. But all of a sudden, these two teams are going in the opposite direction. I will say that if the Lakers can get Luka Doncic back by game 3, which I think they maybe could, I think they're going to try to push it. Maybe LeBron and him will work their magic. I don't think you're going to see Austin Reeves in this series at all, personally. I think the Lakers are going to find a way to scratch and claw their way and win this thing in 7 games. This is the only first round matchup I have going 7 games. So, West, I have Thunder Clippers 4, Spurs Suns 4, and Nuggets T Wolves 5. Pretty quick dispatches here in the first round. I only have two out of the 8 series going 6 games or more. So um let's get to round two, who I think Oklahoma City, then at that point, the Lakers just don't match up well at Oklahoma City. This will be a blowout. The Thunder will be the first team since the Golden State Warriors in 2019 to be a defending champion to get back to the conference finals. They will take on a banged up team that will be going to war. I think whoever had home field advantage in the 7 game series between San Antonio and Denver would win it. San Antonio does. Listen, I think the NBA MVP, the reason why I didn't do a whole podcast about it is because I think the whole debate is stupid. To be honest with you, I think the 65 game limit is stupid. You can't tell the NBA story this year without the rise of Kate Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons and the rise of Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs potentially a year ahead of schedule. And the fact that Kate Cunningham is not eligible for awards and that Victor Wembanyama is not going to win MVP because SGA scored the most games with 20 consecutive points, breaking Wilt Chamberlain's record. Every time you break Wilt Chamberlain's record, you're seemingly just going to win MVP. The NBA MVP now is a narrative story, just like the NFL. They give it to Russell Westbrook only because he had a triple double. They are tired of giving it to guys like Nikola Jokic and Giannis, so they gave it to SGA and Joel Embiid and other people that really don't deserve it. So I think we're going to get Wemby on a revenge course here against OKC, who I just don't think the Thunder had the capability to stop the Spurs for a 7 game series. I'll take San Antonio in 6, who have gone through a war now with Denver and Jokic, who will give them everything they can handle. OKC, who will give them everything they can handle, and then they will be ready to dispatch the Knicks, who Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson will get absolutely worked by your eventual NBA Finals MVP, Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. They will win the NBA championship in 5 games. So again, we don't get a lot of game sevens anymore in the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs have mostly been blowouts historically now. There's been more blowouts in the NBA playoffs than ever. There's been more blowouts in the NBA regular season than ever. If you have good guard play, you have good bigs, and you can shoot the free, the Spurs check all those boxes. You're going to beat a lot of teams. You're going to beat a lot of teams soundly. Again, I only have Lakers Rockets, and that's if Luka Doncic comes back. If the Lakers don't have him back, I don't even think they win the series. And we're already dealing with a Luka injury, an Austin Reeves injury, an Anthony Edwards injury, Kate Cunningham just coming back, Nikola Vucevic just coming back. How will they handle things? Jared Allen has an injury history. We know James Harden has an injury history. Evan Mobley, not in the postseason, but regular season, has an injury history. So Jason Tatum obviously just coming back. Jalen Brunson, we know his hand was broken a couple years ago, and the Knicks lost that Pacers in the game 7 in the second round. Usually, it feels like our game sevens have not come in the finals outside of last year. They come in the second round. So I have Lakers Rockets going 7, and I have Spurs Nuggets in the second round going 7, and that's it for going 7. And I think that Nuggets Spurs second round series may be the NBA championship this year. That's how I feel right now. And as of right now, again, the only upset I do see is Houston maybe upsetting the Lakers. But for the most part, I have 1 through 4 in both sides of the bracket, which is why I said right now in my top 10 teams most under pressure to win the NBA title, I have 6 teams in the West. I have four teams in the East because I don't see the top four seeds losing in the East at all. It would be a massive upset if we don't get Pistons, Cavs, and Knicks Celtics second round. I do feel like, you know, maybe Houston can upset the Lakers. If Ant was healthy, I'd give Minnesota a shot to upset Denver. That's how I feel, and the rest of these teams won't even win a round. So again, I have Spurs Knicks in the NBA championship. And I have Victor Wembanyama winning Finals MVP. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.